are gathered with us today. Special welcome to any visitors we have with us, first-time visitors, return visitors, friends come with family. We love having you here, and to our online community as well. I say a special welcome, especially again to anyone that's visiting with us from wherever you are. We're delighted you have chosen to join us this morning. Whew! What a way to start a service, huh? Yeah. Wow. Where does the time go? I want to just encourage you, if you are visiting with us, please remember to sign our friendship book, which we keep on the table out there, so you can send you our newsletter and keep you apprised of the many happenings that are starting to roll again around here. If you're online with us, just go ahead and email our office at office@faithucc.org, and we'll get you on that email distribution list. I do want to make a couple of announcements here. They're coming in fast and furious. We got a lot going on. Announcement, thank you to Elizabeth Cohn for coordinating our volunteers at HEP. The meal program is opening up again at HEP. How cool is that? Oh, that's so great. We're looking for a new faith HEP coordinator. Elizabeth has stepped out of that. So if you are interested, please see Molly Hancock. Where's Molly? I know there she is. Molly will tell you all that's involved in coordinating, serving at HEP. If you've never done it, we're going to need volunteers as well. It's such a great experience to go and serve food to some really great people. So if you're interested, see Molly, see me, we'll point you in the right direction. Hey, quick reminder about parking. Look at parking as an act of love. It's crowded out there. We have a lot of grass. So if you're able, and it's no problem for you to walk from the grass to the church, please do park in the grass out there. It will save, like 50-something maybe 50 parking spots for those that's really much more difficult. So, hey, we have a lot of room up front. We have a whole front row. People are afraid of the front row, you guys. Maybe it's because I'm the maskless one up here. Maybe that's it. I don't know. We got a whole front row up here, so please come on forward if you're comfortable. And where was I? Parking. I was watching those action in the back. So go ahead and park on the grass if you are able to do so. Hey, just for the future, joys and concerns are going to change. You know how we kind of do the shout-out kind of version right now? Well, I've gotten a lot of feedback from people online. They can't hear those comments from people because until we have drone cam flying around, which I hope is in the near future. Let's just see how cool would that be, you guys? A little drone cam. Victor's sitting back there controlling drone cam, and it's buzzing around. Everybody's hair will look like mine. Get buzzed on by. So until we have drone cam, until my dream becomes a reality of having the first ever church drone cam, we're going to go ahead with a basket up here. This is going to be out in the gathering space. So when you come in, it has joys and concerns on it. You can circle one, write what that joy or concern is. I already have one here, which we'll lift up in a second, and I think I see another one in there. So that just it's an act of justice to those in our online community and those others in here that just can't hear when people are sharing the joy away from the back. So look for that next week, and we'll try this new system and see how it works. But that basket will be out in the gathering space, and you can just put those joys and concerns right here. Hey, Dunedin Cares, you've all stepped up your game. I mean, we were doing 27 pounds of food for the food pantry next door. Last week we did 227, and this week we did another 150. So that is just awesome. Thank you, Victor and Lori, and all of our coordinators. Melissa, coordinating that. It's so fantastic. So just go ahead and look for those BOGOs and bring them on in, and you can put them in the gathering space in the big bucket that's named Dunedin Cares. And let's keep feeding Dunedin, okay? Let's keep feeding Dunedin, especially in the summer when kids aren't in school. And they're not getting those tasty, nutritious school lunches. So, at least they were when I was a kid. I don't think they look so good anymore. Any kids in school want to vouch for that? Yeah, Bren? Tara, thumbs up or thumbs down? Okay, thumbs down, all right. So we need to donate good, healthy, nutritious food for those kids to enjoy. Hey, we have a quick special announcement here from Priscilla.
Hopefully soon. If you'll turn your head around and look at the door to the Sunday school, you'll see all of our prayer shawls and Care Bears, and there's new yarn. Unfortunately, someone did not realize that we have to have 3 skeins of yarn to make a prayer shawl. And skeins have been disappearing, which means I have to go to the store and try to match the kind of yarn that it is and the color and all that good stuff. So if you have borrowed any yarn from the blue basket, kindly return it or return a same kind of yarn back that will match the rest of them that are there. So there are new skeins of yarn, 3 each. You can knit them or crochet them. If you want to knit them, I will give you the directions. If you want to crochet them, where are you, Donna? Donna, are you here? Donna Lund is the one that's the famous crocheter in this group, so she knows how to crochet a prayer shawl to make it look just like the knitted ones. I don't know how she does it. So see me afterwards. I'll be standing, and any kids in the audience should go home with one of our Care Bears to remind them of this place and of God's love for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. I think we all just got scolded on that one. Priscilla's always good for a good scolding. I mean that with love, Priscilla, really. I mean, fully with love. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Happy Father's Day. I'm saying more about that in a little bit, but I wanted to get out there. Now, I do want to just lift up a couple of concerns, though. Please continue to hold Leslie Kowalski's daughter in your hearts and prayers. Her name is Kim. She was hospitalized. She's going through some lifestyle changes, hoping to stay off medication. So hold Kim and Leslie, I know you're here somewhere. Hold them in your hearts and prayers. And also Diane Feldman, who is here today with Alton, her husband Alton. And how fantastic. Diane was hospitalized. I know she's in here somewhere. Was hospitalized last week. Back there? Okay, great. Spent some time in the hospital, but is now with us again. So that's a joy and a concern. We keep you both in our hearts and prayers as well. Also, Carol Kriebel, she's in the back. She's going through this time of just waiting, anxiously waiting for tests from results from a stress test that she underwent a week and a half ago. So Carol and Willard, we hold you in our hearts and prayers. As Willard joked with me last week, he said, "Oh, well, they know the reason for her stress," and he pointed to himself. So he said, "Why do we need to wait? We know it." Thumbs up from Willard. And also, Lisa Popovich, I know, is with us, and Erica Miller is here in the house today. And Lisa, her partner Lisa, is at home, having been hospitalized for over 10 months up in New York, and now is at home recovering. I just spoke with Lisa the other day. It was great to hear her voice. And Erica, it's great to see you. But Lisa, at home, we hold you in our hearts and prayers. And I know you'll be joining this community in just a minute, so we welcome you fully into this wonderful community. Know you're held in love. And also, I just want to raise up Johanna Perez, her family, just struggling through some issues right now, health concerns. I just want to lift that up so we can all hold Johanna and her awesome, wonderful family in our hearts and prayers this day. And finally, happy Pride, everyone. I say that with a heavy heart, as I know you all saw what happened last night at the Wilton Manors Pride Parade. If you didn't see it, a car drove through the parade. I know last I saw, one person had died, and several others were critically injured in that attack. And so I lift up LGBT sisters and brothers in this time, and all of us are supporters and allies and friends and family. And of course, this church, because we're not immune to that kind of violence, evil, hate, because we had our own banner. If you drove in today, you'll notice our banner is not there. So someone ripped our Pride banner off the wall. And not only that, took a Black Lives Matter sign as well. So they have been located, strangely. I'll say more about that at another time, as the police are doing an investigation to figure out if this does indeed rise to the level of a hate crime. Because they did that for a reason. They targeted it for a reason during Pride Month. But you know what? I'm not going to let them win. No way. The last time they cut it, we put a bigger one up. This time they stole it, we're going to put a flag up. I mean, and put it higher and higher so they can't get to it. Because we're never going to be deterred. We're never going to let them win. Ever. Ever. So join us next week, and we're going to go all out and celebrate Pride. Our Journeys group is going to help lead this service. It's going to be fantastic. And we will never, ever, if you're watching out there who stole our banner, we will never, ever be deterred. I also want to say a happy Juneteenth, man. Finally, got over the hump, become a federal holiday. How cool is that? We celebrate Juneteenth yesterday, and I always love these words if I can squint to read them. Juneteenth has never been a celebration of victory or an acceptance of the way things are. It's a celebration of progress. It's an affirmation that despite the most painful parts of our history, change is possible, and there is still so much work to do. So a special to celebrate a new the first federal holiday in 4 decades this weekend in Juneteenth. So happy Juneteenth, happy Pride, happy Father's Day, everybody. We are celebrating a lot. Did I leave anything else out that we're celebrating today besides our new members, which we'll get to in just a moment? Happy summer. Oh, it's the summer. It's the, what is it, summer solstice? It's tonight, isn't it? That's right. Want to shift to just a couple joys real quick. Brian Smalley's birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday to Brian. Now go ahead. Oh yeah, everybody with a birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Brian. Happy birthday to you. Everybody with a birthday this week. Special happy birthday to all. See, this is already working. I got joys in the basket. This is great. You can bring them up during the service too. We'll just read them off. Pat Sargent will be flying to New York this week for our youngest grandson's high school graduation. He'll be attending State University studying diesel mechanics and welding. Awesome. Congratulations, Pat. That's something to celebrate. I want to celebrate one more thing. Some folks shared this with me. This is the Faith UCC of Maine, called the Mainers. All Faith UCC folks together up in Maine. I wanted to give them a quick shout out. Michelle Friedman is joining today, and she's in Maine, probably online watching us right now. So a big shout out to the Mainers. How cool! I just think that's so cool. But we have something really special today. Marge Brown, you want to come on up and join me? Maybe over on so you can hand out all these goodie bags. I think I'll have to stay in front of the camera, but we have. Are you ready for this? Drum roll. Do we need a drum roll? A lot of people joining this congregation. We bucked the trend during COVID. I know churches that closed. I know churches that just shut down for COVID and with plans to reopen later. I know churches that just would give anything for new members, and they're just not coming in. And we have, 33 that have joined during the last 15 months. So we just want to celebrate them, their presence here this day. I think 22 of them are here on the 2 columns over there. Then the others are not with us today, but we will definitely read their names up. But we just want to invite those that have joined. I'm going to read your names off, and you can come on up. And we got a great goodie bag. We got the hottest item in the area in that coffee mug, that Faith UCC coffee mug. I should have had mine today. So, there's all sorts of goodies in there, all sorts of great stuff. So I hope you enjoy going through that later. So I just want to call folks up, and we'll just make a line up here, and we'll celebrate you today. We have just a tiny little litany that we'll say together to celebrate your presence. Diane and Glenn Adone, come on down. I'll do my best Bob Barker today.
The price is right.
And Barbara Borey, come on down, and Kathy Coffey. And Mary Conti. And Julie Del Giorno. Not the Del Giorno pizza family. Just want to get that out there. Yeah, feel free to start there, maybe spread on down this way here. You got it. Mike Eckles, come on down. And Diane Feldman and Alton Corin, if you're comfortable coming up. Don Jablonski, and Angelica Leon, and Lori and Victor Lucas, and Jeannie Ma. Jeannie always out in the garden. Love seeing her out there. Sue Markowitz and Joan Schrader. Our Witness Wednesdayers. Erica Miller, and of course, in spirit with us here is Lisa Popovich. Kim Motizi, Johanna, Perez Hoffman. Marty Sayer. Jeez. Oh, we need a bigger church. Brian Smalley joined us this year. Even though he's been here for years, he said, I'm going to sign on the dotted line. And finally, Barbara Turner Delisle. Wow. Wow. This is so awesome. And not with us today, but likely online with us is Elizabeth Cuthbertson, Nan Dahlberg, Chris Daniels, Michelle Friedman, the Mainer that you saw up there, Jan Haringsma, Anita and Lee Harrington up in Ohio, Jean Johnson in Minnesota, Dawn Keidel, she's on vacation, she was here last week, of course Lisa Popovich, and Carolyn Scheuer. So they will be back with us at some point. But, we want to just welcome folks with some words. I know you've joined and had this welcoming ceremony, but just want to go ahead and welcome you here with some beautiful litany words. So will you all join me, and everybody should just join in, and we'll pray this together. You ready? 1, 2, 3, let's go. We welcome you with joy into this beloved spiritual community. As we walk together in the way of faith, we pledge to you our friendship and support. May God help us to teach and learn, trust and be trustworthy, forgive and be forgiven, serve and be served, love and be loved. May we live out our spiritual lives in community, near and far, and engage the world through the Jesus way together. For your presence, for the light you bring forth, for the gifts you have to share, we join our voices and we say, welcome, friends. Woo! Welcome, everybody. You need some help here?
We did our own cup here.
Can I just say, if you're looking for a community like this, if you'd like to join here, you still can. And then get one of these great bags, your own bag if you're very young. Just go ahead, if you do want to join this church, and you should remember here, you don't have to come here, just know that. But if you'd like to do that, please see Marge Brown or myself, or go to the website, fill out the information form, and it will ensure we get it to you. I feel like it's Christmas.
Happy birthday.
Anyone got one? Anybody got one? If you didn't have somebody, they'll have it right after the service. I promise. There's a couple extra. And then we just want to join on the spot. We got a bag for you. You can take 2 more. Come on, somebody. Somebody join on the spot. That'd be so cool. Just like, yeah, it's almost like I'm feeling the spirit of being part of this place. We got bags. We're not leaving here until 2 people join. I just want to say. Who doesn't want to come experience Hart Church, Hart Comedy Club, Hart Bistro section? Welcome, my friends. Please be seated. We're so delighted to have you here. Can't wait to chat with you after the service. And we got some great cake out there after the service, so please do stick around. This is just a day of celebrating Father's Day, of celebrating new members, of celebrating Pride, and celebrating Juneteenth, and celebrating all of you. It's going to be hard to tone this down now, isn't it? Oh, this is totally cake. Forget it. Okay, let's I need to tell you all about Father's Day. All right, my friends.
As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and I appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask him in my name. I am giving you these commands so that you may love one another.
Our reading today is a familiar one from Luke 15, verses 11 through 32. It's a story of a father and two sons who have very different experiences with their father. For one, the experience is beautiful. For the other, well, it is painful. I guess we could say it shows a wide array of experiences when it comes to Father's Day. For some, the experiences of fatherhood are beautiful, while for others, it can be a painful day. These days can be tricky, but this is a meaningful text for us to explore it with today from several angles. Hear this story of the prodigal son. Now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near to listen to him, and the Pharisees and the scribes were grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So Jesus told them this parable. There was a man who had two sons. The younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me." So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country. And there he squandered his property in dissolute living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, "How many of my father's hired hands, have bread enough and to spare? But here I am, dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands.' So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.'
But the father said to his servants, "Quickly, bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. And get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." And they began to celebrate. Now his elder son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the servants and asked what was going on. He replied, "Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf because he has got him back, safe and sound." Then he became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him, but he answered his father, "Listen, for all these years I have been working like a servant for you, and I have never disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me even a young goat so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours returns, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you kill the fatted calf for him?" Then the father said to him, "Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found."
Thank you, Tammy. That was a great reading. A timeless story. Could preach on that one, I think, every day for a year, and you wouldn't hit all the possible themes come out of that story. So when it comes to days like today, Father's Day, kind of days like Hallmark holiday-ish kind of days, I always like to delve into the history of how these days came about, because they're often filled with some really cool stuff, some fascinating characters, and more often than not, contain just some really interesting origin stories. I mean, I told you on Mother's Day, right? That's how it is with Mother's Day. I mean, how it sprang from the work of some really visionary women who wanted to honor their mothers for the work that they were doing and bringing a sense of peace and unity into the world through their work in mending fences following the Civil War. Mother's Day had great characters like Julia Ward Howe. Remember her? Her famous Mother's Day proclamation. And it had Anna Jarvis and her really quirky and interesting daughter, Anna Reeves Jarvis, who truly stands as the founder of Mother's Day, and how she fought so hard to get it onto the stage for years, and then she fought equally hard against it when it became more about flowers and chocolates than the work of mothers doing work for peace. It's a fascinating story. So surely Father's Day, right, has just as interesting a story. So I sat down the other morning, sipping my coffee, my computer, like I was some kind of investigative journalist, to get to the bottom of the history of how we got to where we are on this third Sunday in June, known as Father's Day. I went to my trusted sources. I've got some. Anonymous sources. History.com. Wikipedia. Good housekeeping. And my newest source this year, theartofmanliness.com. That's my new source. And I sat down with all these. I'm ready to be amazed at this story, how this day came about. And as I peruse these websites, I was going to be amazed at what I found. I'll tell you, in a second here, I'm going to tell you what I learned about Father's Day, but first I want to know what you know about it. So here's a little pop quiz for you. You ready? True or false? Don't everybody get too excited. Don't look nervous either. True or false? Father's Day began as a way to honor returning soldiers who were fathers returning from World War I. True or false?
False.
You're so certain on that, aren't you? Okay. Father's Day began when a young man named Houston Smith began celebrating his father and the other fathers that were killed in a large construction accident in San Francisco. True or false?
False.
Does anybody think that's true? I wrote that. I had to come up with a couple. Thank you. True or false? Father's Day began when in a church in Texas, a father's ministry group began celebrating their experiences as fathers. True or false?
False.
So, thank you. I got a healthy split on that one. Okay. And last, true or false? Father's Day exists because there was Mother's Day. True. I've told you that before. Cheaters. That's true though, right? It's number 4. The other ones I had to make up. Not where I came up with the name Houston Smith, but so as I sat down to do my deep dive into the origins of this day, much to my dismay, after reading entry after entry, I quickly realized I could keep the sermon really nice and short when we get to that new member cake by boiling it down to one simple nugget. There's Father's Day because there was Mother's Day. Yep. The authors of a Father's Day article on History.com wrote, in comparison to Mother's Day, they said the campaign to celebrate the nation's fathers did not meet with the same enthusiasm. Perhaps, as one florist put it, quote, fathers haven't the same sentimental appeal that mothers have. They also wrote that even when Father's Day was somewhat established on the national scene, quote, many men continued to disdain the day. And they scoffed at the holiday's sentimental attempts to domesticate manliness with flowers and gift giving. Or they denied the proliferation of such holidays as a commercial gimmick to sell more products, often paid for by the father himself. That's what I do. I just buy myself Father's Day gifts. I mean, it's like, hey. So Father's Day had a tough beginning, for sure. It seemed pretty much doomed to extinction for threatening to make dad seem, God forbid, sentimental and threatening their manliness, whatever that means. But thank goodness we need a hero or a heroine in this story, right? Someone saw the value in celebrating the contribution of fathers and kept the fight alive. Does anyone know her name?
Her name.
Sonora Smart Dodd. Who was so inspired by, of course, a Mother's Day service that she attended and the honor that it brought to moms, that she wanted the same thing, to honor her own father, a 2-time widower, William Jackson, who raised, get this, 14 children. So she was relentless, and she pushed her vision to the YMCA and to civic institutions and luckily to churches and the churches in and around Spokane, Washington, where she lived. And luckily, those churches love the idea, especially now. See, it does go back to a ministerial group. That wasn't so far off. And the Spokane, whatever, Ministerial Association wanted to plan a celebration of fathers in churches all throughout Spokane. So Sonora pushed for June 5th to be the celebration day. That was her own dad's birthday. But the time to pull this off was too short. So this association of pastors and church leaders settled on the 3rd Sunday in June, just as we have it today. The holiday then began to spread to other states, and once World War II came along, it was pretty much ingrained in the nation's ethos. It wouldn't be until 1972 when Richard Nixon signed a congressional resolution declaring the 3rd Sunday in June to be Father's Day. Whew. Woo! So yes, there is a little bit of history that we honor this day, but in the end, it all comes down to that one simple nugget. There is Father's Day because there was Mother's Day. But who cares? Happy Father's Day anyway. Woo! Now, I know much like Mother's Day, this day can elicit a range of emotions in people based on their experiences, right? Of the father figures in their lives. I mean, we need to be honest. I mean, some experiences are warm and are full of love and joy and fond memories. Others are difficult, maybe containing abuse or pain. Some are fearful with memories of maybe a domineering and rigid father experience. Some are just absent. Or some lack a father altogether who is just not there for whatever reason. Some folks have no dad and 2 moms, while others have 2 dads and no moms. Some were raised by single fathers, and some by fathers who were rarely around or present in their lives, or maybe who just left. For some, not having kids raises painful memories. And for others, grief weighs heavy on the heart with the loss of a beloved dad in the recent past. I know for me, that's the case, as this is the first Father's Day that I can't call my dad because he died back in January. These days they're hard. Heck, I can't even hug my kids today because they're in Minnesota. Thank God for the U.S. Open. And beer. Add to all of that, I mean, that's already not enough. Think of the dads that we lost in the last 15 months, the families lost to that dang pandemic, being counted among the 600,000 Americans that have died. It can be a tough day. I also think of fathers who have lost children. Oh, and how hard this day can be. I don't know how many of you saw Morning Joe the other morning, but Fred Gutenberg was on, I think it was Friday, talking about his daughter Jamie, who was 14 when she was shot and killed in the Parkland shooting. And he was on, talking about a tweet he sent out the day before, saying how painful this day is for the fact that part of his Father's Day routine now, it's heartbreaking, is going to visit the grave of a daughter that he dearly loved and whose graduation he should have celebrated last week. Painful, it was really painful to see. But it was inspiring for his work on ending gun violence. So you should go check it out. I also think of George Floyd's little girl. You know, it's been, over a year now, who will grow up without her father. So this has got to be a tough day for her because he was murdered. And yet how she misses him dearly. I saw a thing yesterday with her reflecting on him and how he changed the world. She loves to say that, yet how she missed him dearly. So Father's Day is tough. My point is, not to bring it down, it's just that while Father's Day, happy for many, is full of pain, for others, and I just want to acknowledge that fact so that we can hold space for the entire range of experiences among us. Because every single one of you has a different Father's Day experience. Church is for just that. That is surely the case with our timeless and cherished gospel text from Luke today, known as the prodigal son, the story of a father and two sons. For here we have a case where we can look at the story from a series of perspectives. Now I realize, in looking back, I've preached on this story a handful of times, and I realize I always only chose to see this story through the lens of the father and maybe the returning prodigal son, a younger son. I've never seen the story through the eyes of the older son. Have you ever done that? Yeah? The one who was faithful to his father, right? The one who stayed and worked hard on his father's immense lands. The one who is slighted in the end as he watches his wayward brother come back home to a celebration and party and a so-called slaughter of the fatted calf. At one point this week, I realized, I laughed, and I realized that of course I should have seen things from his perspective, because I have two daughters who might be listening right now. And my goodness, how many times have I heard from one of them, why are you always letting her off the hook? And not me. It's never me. It's not fair. And I'd usually hear a door slam. So I live this story on a daily basis. So I'm surprised I have never seen things from this older son's perspective, his view. And I really did try and do that this week, to see things from the lens of an older brother who, I mean, think about it, who watched his little brat of a younger brother take part of his father's land and wealth and run off and squander it, or as he says, devour it with his father's property with prostitutes, while he stays and is a model son, working so hard, or as the story says, working like a servant in his father's fields. For all these years his brother has been gone. He's upstanding, he's commendable, right? He's a true family child who's helping make his father wealthier and more prosperous than ever. I can envision his frustration. It's the first time I've really thought about it and felt that. And then we hear he's out working, right? He's in the fields, he's sweating, he's toiling, he's supervising other workers, and all of a sudden he hears music. There's a party going on, dancing and music, and no doubt the smells of meat, right? burning on the fire, and he wonders what the heck's going on. Well, I'm out here working, doing all this work. And so he asks a servant, and the servant says, well, your little bratty brother has returned from his adventures, and his father, the one he has been working so hard for, has thrown this elaborate feast to celebrate his homecoming. He just has to be miffed, right? When you really step into his character, I mean, the story says he became angry. Okay, I think that has to be a grand understatement. He is mad as heck. And you know, who can blame him, right? Put yourself in his shoes. He says, no way, I won't have anything to do with this, and he refuses to join in the celebration. But his father comes out to him and tries to get him to join in and come on into the house. But the older son, he tees off on his old man about how unfair it all is, that he's never been allowed to celebrate like this. Or maybe he had a celebration in his honor, even though he's been faithful to his father. He's a right to be angry. Now, if I had never read any further than right there in this story, I would guess the next words would be from a father teeing off on his kid, his older son telling him to get his behind in that door, or there's going to be big, big trouble. This man was a powerful patriarch. If you go into the context, as you know, and sons in this time did not dare talk to someone like that, even their father, maybe especially their fathers like that. So that's what I would expect, but no. That image is up there. The father's gentle with his older and angry son, trying desperately to persuade him to come in, reminding him that he's always been there. He's always been by your side. And all that he has is his. But his brother, yes, even though he's made some terrible, awful mistakes, well, he's come back. And we're a family again. Come and celebrate. Come and celebrate, for we are all together, we are whole, we are one. Come and dance. That's the story at its end. It was interesting just to live with the perspective of this older brother this week. And again, I say, I get it. I understand why he's so angry. I mean, what his younger brother did, I want to take you into the context. What his younger brother did, when you go into the context that would have surrounded the story, becomes even worse. And his younger brother, I know we see him as a younger, bratty brother. Oh no, he's completely corrupt when you go into the context. I heard a yep, I heard an amen almost. For one thing, younger brothers did not generally acquire any share of an inheritance from a father. That just didn't happen. As we know from remember the Jacob and Esau story? And Jacob's trickery to steal that firstborn birthright, which came with all the property and all the money. Older brothers got almost everything, and then they could distribute it if they wanted to, they chose to their younger brothers, generally not their younger sisters. Patriarchal culture. So his younger brother technically stole from him. So he should be angry. Second, his brother went and squandered his father's lands. And what we're told are, you heard the word distant lands? You know what that means? Gentile lands. Because this is told Jesus is telling us from a purely Jewish perspective. So he went to distant lands, and he gave away his father's land to Gentiles. And that is about the worst thing a son could ever do. That's a massive no-no. But he does it anyways. All the while, the older son toils and works in his father's land. So I can just see why he's so angry and felt so slighted. I mean, how many of you have a younger sibling that seemed to get away with just about everything? Huh? Oh, they're going up now. Too bad to be you. I was a baby. I got away with everything. We don't need to list what those things were, but you get my point. I hope my older brother didn't get away with the things that I did. So yeah, from his perspective, if he were to try to identify the story, I would get it. I would get it. I'll ask him next week when I see him. I guess my question to you about this story is, who do you identify with? Who do you identify with? The older son? The younger son? Or the father? I wonder if there is a mother here She's not mentioned, is she? But I sure would love to know what she's thinking through this whole thing. I think the genius of the story, and it is a genius, masterful story, this parable from Jesus, and the reason it's so timeless, even leading Rembrandt, these are paintings and etchings from Rembrandt. He did this theme time and time again. They were some of his best work, because it's the genius of it, is that I think at times we can identify with each of those characters, right? Different points in our lives. I mean, we've all been the rebellious son or daughter. In some way, we have been. Maybe not to that extent, but we've all made mistakes in life that perhaps needed a bit of atoning and forgiveness. I know I have. Probably will again. Likewise, we can all relate to the older brother, right? Feeling slighted, time or two in our lives, angry, perhaps someone that we think is being really, really unfair to us in lieu of someone else that just seems at times much less deserving, perhaps because of actions or directions that they have chosen to take, like that younger brother in their lives. We feel slighted. Perhaps you at times resonate with the father and are willing to overlook the glaring disrespect for the love of a child or someone else you will just want to go and you want to spread some love and some compassion and forgiveness into a situation where you have found yourself. So you're like the father. I mean, society and culture, we know, they always tell us what? To be mad, right? To hold grudges, to cut someone off when that someone offends us, like the young son offended his brother and his father. But this father demonstrates that there is a different way. So again, we all have to just think that we have a mix of these characters in us in different times in our lives. I know for me, and this is just me, maybe why I've never really looked at this story through the lens of the older brothers, because I've so identified strongly as the father here when it comes to my kids, because they're such a center of my life. I mean, I'd like to think that if one of my kids did what this younger brother did and requested some of my immense fortune, maybe one or two of my luxurious homes, one in Palm Harbor, one down in Tarpon Springs, another one I keep in Clearwater Beach. Maybe wanted one of my prized Bentleys. I don't drive it here, I don't want to show off. So. And then they took all that and they went out to Las Vegas and they squandered it all. And they're broke and they're poor and they're living on the street. Well, even though I may be deeply offended, I want to think I'd be just like this father. You know, out watching and waiting and hoping that I would see my child like he did, come over the hillsides and come back home, and I would lavish her with a celebration that she was lost but is now found. I guess I just see in this parable Jesus telling us of the fullness of love and the beauty of togetherness in a way that we might be able to understand it through familial, family-like imagery. That's what I see here. Even though interpretations vary among scholars, some see in this story as the restoration of Israel. It could be. While others identify the father with God and see it as a story of grace after a time of rebellion. You can always come back to God kind of thing, right? Still others see it as a symbol of reconciliation of Jewish folks and Christian folks, not realizing there really were no Christian folks. This is a story that needs to be kept within Judaism. I think these are all misguided attempts, and I hear them all the time, but they just miss the obvious, often difficult, at times downright frustrating call to just love unconditionally, to forgive often, to seek reconciliation when at all possible. Jesus knew full well that we can and will embody each of these characters at various times in our lives, but the image that shines the most, that is most important, is the one found in the hands of that father, welcoming back his lost and wayward son. It's a great story. The Jesus way is not about division, hatred, and revenge. He tells us this again and again. And to drive it home even further, he left us this shocking, frustrating, and incredibly beautiful parable to remind us of that. I wonder if this parable was close to the heart of Sonora smart Dodd, who really stands as the inspiration to this day, Father's Day, when she set out to honor her twice widowed dad who raised those 14 kids. Surely she saw a metaphorical older or younger brother and sister in countless times throughout her life, right? She can identify with this story as she watched her dad parent his way through it all. For in the end, that is what Father's Day is supposed to really give thanks for and to honor. And today, surely fathering has taken on many new meanings and what fathering is, and when we can broaden that out beyond the family and the biological, just like we do with Mother's Day, because at its heart, it's about spreading love, compassion, forgiveness, and especially guidance. And surely we can all do that, right? So to all who father in some way, to all who father in some way, I say to you a happy and blessed Father's Day. I encourage all of you to explore this story from Jesus just a bit more as well. Play the characters in your minds this week. And when you have a choice, be the tender hands of love whenever you can. For that's the heart of Father's Day. And surely that's the heart of the Jesus way. Happy Father's Day, everyone. Amen. an LGBT sister or brother, especially in this Pride Month. We pray for a day, oh God, when no one is oppressed just for being who they were born to be, created by you as a beautiful expression of your love and your being. So for the poorest, the hungry, the homeless, for all who suffer this day, we lift them to the mystery of your never-ending presence and hope that we can be the hands and feet in the world that can help lift these burdens, oppressions, and pains. Help us be healers. I wonder if you'll join me now, my friends, in praying together a beautiful version and interpretation of the Lord's Prayer. Words are on the screen. Ground of all being, mother of life, Father of the universe, your name is sacred beyond speaking. May we know your presence. May your longings be our longings in heart and action. May there be food for the human family today and for the whole earth community. Forgive us the falseness of what we have done as we forgive those who are untrue to us. Do not forsake us in our time of conflict, but lead us into new beginnings. For the light of life, vitality of life, and the glory of life are yours, now and forever. Amen. Amen. Well, hey, I know we're coming to the conclusion of this. Awesome. This has been I hope your spirits are lifted. This has been a really powerful service, meaningful for me personally. I hope you can take some of this gratitude and just awe and wonder into your day and into your week. I always just want to say a special thank you for all of your giving. If you are visiting with us today, or even if, as I always like to say, you won big last night and your pockets are full of cash, we're going to put these plates, and we're not passing plates, we're going to put them on the back table, the bistro section back there. And feel free to lighten that load a little bit if that helps out. But it just goes to support the work that we do here together. It goes to support being the kind of community that some people have a big problem with. and for us in a good way, because we're spreading love and inclusion. And we're going to keep on doing that, no matter how many times they try to tear our signs down. Your generosity goes towards helping us be that community. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you for all of your giving. And plates will be back on the table. I hope you have a blessed day. I hope you'll come and celebrate, greet our newest members. Let's give our newest members a round of applause again, huh? Two awesome cakes. This is 2 weeks in a row now, this cake thing. Woo! We got 2 great cakes to celebrate our newest members here. So please do stick around for a time of hospitality. Greet a new friend. Greet an old friend. Heck, we probably haven't reunited with everybody yet since we're still in this coming back together phase. And just be a community and get to know one another. That's what we do here. But before we do send ourselves out of here, however I want to say that, we need to do one more thing. We always like to sing our benediction song. And this is one thing, there's many things I miss, but this ending of the service is something I miss dearly for those 15 months. It's just not the same when it's on a screen and you're sitting there alone, So I miss this song. Let's rise up in body or spirit. Let's sing our way out of here on this Father's Day weekend, on the Juneteenth weekend, on the month we celebrate Pride, and on the day we celebrate all of our newest members. Let there be peace on earth, my friends, and let it begin with us.
Yeah.